The following broadcast is a Nighthawk Network presentation. Hey, what up, though? What's going on, y'all? It's your boy E Beezy, E Buck in the building. It's Wednesday night. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for Gametime Audible. That show where we talk about sports with y'all, and we talk about it for quite a bit. So if y'all wants to come on in, make y'all comments, and let us know what y'all think about some of what we thinking about. By all means, hit us up in the comments. And there is one special invite I sent out today, you. So that person, if you got that invite, you want to come on through, by all means, come kick it with us for a little bit. I'm gonna leave that a secret for my man, the sports guru, Hugh. But in the meanwhile, we got to greet that brother. What's going on, Hugh? What's going on, my guy? What's the business?
What's going on, man? Just looking and checking and seeing what's going on out here in the sports world, seeing if anything new popped up by the time we get on the show. It rarely happens, but when it do, it actually comes at a perfect time. And so, yeah, just kind of checking my sources, making sure everything legit.
Absolutely. So, we back to setting it up the way we got it set up. But we got some good response from the way we did the show last week, the whole Buck Blitz type thing. So we decided we're gonna do it like that again. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna come up with a lot of topics. We're gonna address them boom, 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 real quick, like you know what I'm saying? We're gonna hit you with it like bye, bye, bye. So come in with y'all comments. We're gonna hit them too real quick so we can get in as much of this sports stuff as we can. That being said, Hugh, are you ready, brother?
Yep. Yes,
All
indeed.
right, going straight to your thing. For some reason, you chose to lead the show today talking about them doggone Yankees again. So, okay, let's go there. The Yankees are making an offer to sign Carlos Rodon, who, of course, is probably the biggest free agent left on the market right now. Um, what do you think it's going to take to sign him? Should they do it? Is that going to be enough to get them over the hump? What's your thoughts?
I still feel like they need an extra pitcher. Right now, Severino, he actually plays pretty decent. We talked about that last year. He just couldn't stay healthy. That's been his problem for a while now with the Yankees organization. But at the end of the day, I feel like if they sign him, they sign him. San Francisco and the other teams got to the point where they're not as attracted because of the $200 million offer. I feel like if they have it, hey, why not? But if they can, go out there and get just two guys for a little bit more under that, and they could be serviceable. I'd rather them do that rather than spend that type of cash on Carlos Rondon. And most times when you do that, you got to put in several years and options and all. So no, man, if they can find good starting pitching out there where they don't have to break the bank, I'd rather them do that instead.
And bottom line is, I need the Yankees to go back to developing a minor league system. I think they're spending way too much money right now. It's a couple people they need to get off of that payroll before they add somebody major on it. In particular, that dude Giancarlo Stanton, who they definitely have overpaid for. But speaking of overpaying, I got to get into the big free agent signing of the last 24 hours. That would be of Carlos Correa signing that 13-year deal with the Giants. I myself, he feel like they paid way too much for him and gave him way too many years. What's your thoughts?
I felt like he'd have probably been better off making more money with the deal that they actually gave him in Minnesota, man. It was like a 7, maybe 8 year, $280 million deal that he turned down. I thought that was foolish for a 13-year deal for that price that he's getting it for. And the 350 mil sound good, but for 13 years, man, it's like, okay, I got to look into that a little bit more deeper because they basically told me about the signing. Well, how long is it before he be able to opt out? And the Giants was just trying to spend and buy people, man, and that's what I believe, and that's why I believe that his money got so big because they were so close to luring in Aaron Judge, and they couldn't get him, so they had to do something to make a splash in the free agent market.
That being said, the West is going to be real difficult to navigate for those teams not named LA, San Diego, and San Francisco. So, of course, I'm talking about Arizona and Colorado. Y'all can't compete with them money wise. So, I don't see where you are going to be able to be viable in that. At this point, the best you can hope for is try to make the playoffs through a wild card because if they're going to keep spending money like that on that end, how y'all ever going to compete?
I could definitely see that too, man. Those teams gonna have to do something because of the bankroll to keep getting big.
I think we're gonna eventually get to a point where they may have to consider downsizing some of the baseball teams because they just don't have that type of money to counteract the New Yorks and the Californias of the world. And they not,
Yeah,
they could
they
maybe
trying to
afford
work on
one
that.
player like that, but not multiple players. That's asking too much.
They
So
trying to
anyway,
work on that.
that is that much. You think out of some of these other deals that you mentioned with the Mets signing Kodai Senja from Japanese, one of their ace pitchers to a 5 year, $75 million deal. Blue Jays with Ross Stripling, 2 years, $25 million. Do you feel any of those are relevant? If so, why? Why not?
Well, the
Just
Japanese sensation, the Japanese ace, Kodai Senga, I think that they felt like they made a big splash for him. But when I looked at it, I said, why are they spending on pitching? Yeah, I know they got, a pretty good starting pitching lineup, man. Definitely when you got Scherzer and Verlander, but I think they wanted more, man. I think they wanted just that extra person over there because they lost on Jacob deGrom. But I still feel like that was unnecessary. I felt like they already had a pretty good nucleus over there with the Mets. But like you said, I feel like everybody had their hand in, or somebody was trying to negotiate with Aaron Judge, and most of the people felt like if they couldn't get their hands on him, they was gonna spend money elsewhere. And I just thought that was just money wasted. But at the same time, with the Blue Jays, a starting pitcher too from the Giants, Ross Stripling. I thought that was a feasible deal. It wasn't really breaking the bank, and he's an okay guy. He probably improved as he's over there for those couple of years. But yeah, I just felt like the Japanese starting pitcher was a little bit too out of hand. That was overpaying.
I mean, I kind of feel like Blue Jay deal pretty similar to what the Tigers did signing Matt Boyd. It's a warm body. It's somebody that has some starting experience. I don't think you get anything great out of them one way or another. It's just somebody to fill one of the spots, basically.
And I think they had that money to burn too with the Giants because I actually thought they were going to get Aaron Judge, man. But I think things just broke down, man. And he just decided to go back.
I still got to wonder what's going to happen when they finally figure out what they're going to do with the Angels. Because I really do feel like this may be the last year you see Otani and the big fella over there with
Trout.
California. I think at some point they will be dealt or they will sign somewhere else.
They're going to have to start from scratch, man. They're going to have to do rebuilding, and it's starting off with the pitching they have over there right now. And I believe with the pitching and plus getting some more top prospects with some of these trades will definitely help that organization because everybody was looking for pitching help, and they got a plethora of pitchers. Some may pan out, some may not. But then at the same time, they would definitely still be able to, if they trade off some of them players, get some decent prospects to go in that organization. So it's just sad because I felt like they've been constantly spending money and overspending for players, and they just couldn't get over the hump. The money couldn't even buy them a championship.
Absolutely. Um, Basically, that's all I got for baseball this week. Stove wasn't quite so hot this week, so not a lot that was pretty much impressed by. I know we'll do probably a few more deals between non-spring training. We might get a couple decent little splashes, but I think most of the big deals have jumped off by now. So that's what
Yeah,
I
that
got.
stove, that stove lukewarm.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, let's keep it pushing. I want to get to this next story you talked about. Texas Longhorn head coach Chris Beard suspended until further notice after being arrested on domestic violence charges. What's your thoughts on that one, Hugh?
That would really caught me off guard. I felt like the team was doing well and going in a good direction. And but when you hear anything about domestic violence, the first thing you start to think about was the NFL and the non-tolerance for it. But in other organizations, they wouldn't make that mistake that Roger Goodell did and put a person like slap him on the wrist and be like, we're going to suspend you for 2 games. No, that guy's definitely not going to get that job back. Chris Beard is done, and they're going to have to replace him, and they'll find a new coach eventually. But yeah, the domestic violence, man, it touched a little closer to home now, man. I don't know what happened with him and his wife or what was going on in general. But then they said felony charges too, because like if it's felony, he might have pulled out a gun or something too, man. So it got really ugly. But they didn't explain a lot. They just basically got to the punches and said, "Hey, we suspended him for domestic violence and to further notice." So yeah, that's just sad, man. That's too big of a distraction right now for a team that was doing so well. But in this case, man, when you beating up on women or kids or any of the above, man, I can't give you the respect, man. So yeah, definitely, he got what he deserved in this situation.
I don't condone any man putting his hands on a woman. Period. Second of all, you got to realize that that man is not just the coach of that team; he is the leader of those young men. If that's the type of example that he
Bad
has set,
example.
then of course you have to contend with it properly. Right now, it appears he's more guilty until proven innocent than the other way around. So I think unless there's some way to prove that he most definitely did not do that, I agree with you. He's probably going to end up losing his job, unfortunately. And it's sad that that had to be that way, but this is where we are in 2022, you know? Let's keep it pushing. All right. I'm going to switch on over to the NBA. And actually, the big news of the day that's been talked about by a lot of the talking heads is that we are going to get some new trophies this year for some of our winners of the postseason awards. The biggest one, of course, that's being talked about is this one here, as we do have a picture for you to check out, folks. This will be the new MVP trophy for the
Sir,
NBA, thusly named the Michael Jordan Trophy. That is exactly what it will look like. Um, it weighs 23.6 pounds exactly at a height of 23.6. It was made that way to represent the jersey number and the number of championships of one Michael Jordan. As you see there, they have the 23-point faceted crystal ball, which also represents his jersey number. The 15-degree angle base to represent his 15 years in the league. The five-sided base to represent his 5 league MVPs. And his 6-sided nameplate. Now, of course, there were some of the older heads that felt like Michael Jordan should not have been the one to name that trophy after. It should have, in fact, been Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who actually won 6 MVP trophies to Michael's 5. But I don't have no problem with that one. What about you?
I actually don't neither. Yeah, I definitely am surprised that they didn't even consider Kareem in this case. They already did the Magic one and the Larry Bird, so I was like, okay, but to get the Michael Jordan one, I was like, okay, but it was other guys who was worthy as well, and didn't get that. No pun intended. I wasn't meaning or saying James Worthy, but
Right.
after time, I still feel like with Michael Jordan, he definitely solidified the game when he came in, when he first came in his presence in the league. But no big man besides, you had a lot of big men who paved the way for Kareem, but Kareem was the new generation of big man threat. With that sky hook, man, nobody can stop that, man. That was like one of the craziest moves. And I think because of Will Chamberlain and his size, man, he had to create a move to where he couldn't get to it. And that
You
move
got
was
to
not
understand,
duplicated.
when all is said and done, Michael Jordan may be the very best to ever play in the NBA. You know, that's for debate. But when it comes to overall decorated player, I don't think anybody could argue that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who basically won 3 high school championships, 3 college championships, 6 NBA championships with 6 MVPs, and is still currently the leading scorer in the history of the league, is probably the most decorated person in the history of the NBA. So I think just based upon that, I think they should have found something to name after him, and perhaps they still will. Of course,
Agree.
here I do have a couple issues. One, outside of this beautiful trophy here, the rest of the trophies that they renamed, they all look the same. And
Pretty much.
like, how come y'all couldn't do nothing special for the rest of them?
Yeah, Larry Bird.
With that, they all basically want to know what they look like. They all kind of like a crystal vase type scenario, or like basically, if you remember, for you cartoon fans, what the crystals look like at Fortress of Solitude, it kind of looked like a big one of those. Most of the rest of the trophies, they all pretty much look exactly the same, with maybe some slight variations. But as far as the rest of the trophies, we have the Jerry West Trophy for the most clutch player in the NBA. We definitely gonna talk about that in a second. The Hakeem Olajuwon Trophy, that's for the defensive player of the year. The Wilt Chamberlain Trophy, that is for the offensive player of the year. The John Havlicek Trophy, no, actually the Wilt Chamberlain Trophy is for the rookie of the year. The John Havlicek Trophy is that. And then the George Mikan Trophy is for the most improved player. Now, I understand them wanting to pay homage to some of the greats in the past. I have no issue with that. I kind of do have an issue with who got what trophy. Understand that Hakeem Olajuwon is one of my favorite players to not only emulate but watch back in the day. But when I think of defensive player of the year, granted he did win a few of those, but think about it, Hugh. When you think defensive player in the NBA, somebody known primarily for their defensive prowess, who do you think of?
When I think of defense, most times, yeah, man, I do think of somebody like Hakeem Olajuwon.
Okay, let me throw a couple names out there for you.
Mutombo, Gary Payton, a lot of guys.
How about Bill Russell?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that neither.
And let me throw this name out there. How about Dennis Rodman?
Damn, yeah. Hey, if defense was a trophy, yeah, it's definitely Dennis Rodman.
Absolutely. And I think the only reason why it's not named the Dennis Rodman Trophy is because of some of the bad representation that at times Dennis Rodman tends to have with folks. You know, the NBA is still trying to keep it, you know, family friendly and whatnot. Dennis Rodman is not always family friendly.
Yeah. Remember the Rifleman. Remember what happened with that.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the sixth man of the year, I believe that's one of those trophies. That would have definitely been a candidate for naming that trophy. Chuck Person, the Rifleman, he was one of the original 6 men, I think. And, you know, you got people like Detlef Shrimp and, you know, folks of that ilk. I believe that's what the John Havlicek Trophy is actually for the 6th man of the year. Like I said, I don't have no major beef with any of those. It's just particularly with that defensive one, I think Rodman would have been the person to embody that the most. Because like I said, you don't think of Rodman for his scoring prowess or the fact that he learned how to shoot threes at the end. You primarily remember that he D'd up anybody on the floor at any given time. Guard, forward, center, didn't matter.
He sacrificed.
He shut them down. So yeah, like I said, I still think they could have did better with designing some of them other trophies, though. It's kind of bold. The rest of them just look like
what they all look the same.
Yeah. And then, of course, you know, they renamed some of the other trophies a couple years ago. The Red Auerbach Trophy, of course, is for Coach of the Year. Have no problem with that. Basically, you think Red Auerbach, you think NBA coach of all time because you see him on a lot of those old Boston Celtics highlights where basically the Celtics dominated the sport for that decade and a half. He was, well, basically he was coach for more years than that, but and particularly when we talk about their championship years, he was the coach for many of those.
For the football people who don't watch basketball that much, he's basically the Vince Lombardi of the NBA.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, there was that. Okay. We got the Buck Blitz going nice and strong, y'all. Like I said, if y'all got any comments, I see y'all popping in and out. Feel free to pop on in. Let us know what you think. Definitely got to talk about this one, unfortunately. Detroit Piston guard Cade Cunningham had to have season-ending shin surgery. My questions to you, Hugh, as far as that goes, is one, is that pretty much the end of the season for the Pistons? And two, if so, is it time to start visiting the possibility of trading some of the people on the team, getting some more picks? Are we going to rebuild the rebuild? Are we going to go full throttle for getting Victor Awanabe or Wabamba? But I'm going to have that last name soon. It's something to that effect, y'all. We know it's Victor, okay? Are we going to tank for Victor? This is what I'm asking.
Man, it's a possibility because hell, it ain't like they doing too good right now. They wasn't doing well with him really, and it's unfortunate that he was injured like that because we talked about it before and had this conversation. Like, when is this dude gonna come back? And then that's when I got the shocking news that he was out for the rest of the season. Just feel like Bogdanovic should go over to the Lakers, which he should have done in the first place. I was surprised that the Pistons make that bold move. They should have definitely let him go to another team who had the veteran presence, and I was actually shocked. But a lot of those pieces are going to be gone from us. Any veteran type presence, I don't think need to be over there. And I thought it was good for when they got rid of Noel's over there and put him back with the Dallas Mavericks. And now I think it's time for them to get any veteran on that team and sit them to another team. That's why I was glad that Jeremy Grant went over to Portland, and he's doing good over there. He's serviceable too. So, yeah, I don't think that we need to have any veteran presence right now because we need to rebuild and get our rookies and stuff in check. And then it makes me sad too because I look at Green over there with the Rockets, and I'll be like, damn, man, maybe that's the guy we should have went after because at least he can stay healthy and he's putting up decent numbers.
Well, bottom line is, I'm not mad that they decided to restart the rebuild because we still the jury definitely out on the Tigers right now, but you definitely starting to see the fruits of some of that labor in terms of the Red Wings and the most definitely the Lions. So you can't be the one sitting on the fence while all the other teams is getting good around here. So I really feel like we give it a couple more weeks. If it don't look like we're progressing with the team that's currently instructed, if you can get something for Killian Hayes, for Sadiq Bey, for like I said, Bogdanovich, for Marvin Bagley the third, by all means, let him go and let's just go full bore and start this thing all the way over in the next season. That's my thoughts on
Yeah,
that.
reset button.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the controversy of the week in the NBA in regards to one Zion Williamson and the 360-degree windmill slam he made at the end of the first Suns Pelicans game earlier that week. Keeping in mind that they played a few nights later again, and there was no real incident to speak of. What were your thoughts on that to begin with, Hugh? And do we think we need to be concerned about it any further?
I don't really think so because the second game, I think everything was put in perspective. Today, if they act crazy or did anything, then they was gonna drop the hammer. It was crazy too because when I said that, I said, man, I think Zion was a little out of hand for doing that, and we had the conversation. But then, remember the next day when I came to you, I said, "E man, did you see what happened?" Chris Paul do a lot of sneaky stuff. That's why that second game when he got ejected, he do things at first when I seen him play Dallas the first time when they got eliminated by Dallas. And I was like, well, man, Chris Paul wasn't doing nothing. Chris Paul's a sneaky dude, man. Did you see that when he walked past or he was kind of strolling like he was jogging and he elbowed on the player in the neck that caused a lot of that controversy? I think that happened after the dunk. But Zion's excuse, I couldn't really be too mad at it, but I felt like it was unnecessary because Zion said, man, I seen how it felt when my buddies was all out, my partners in crime. I couldn't play right there at the time because I was injured. And to see the look on their face, to see that they were out of the playoffs and how basically the Phoenix Suns carried themselves when they lost. And I think that was just a little bit of redemption because it's crazy to say, Ian. I never thought that I would. It seems like right now, man, they was doing a poll and Phoenix Suns is at the top of the list as some of the number one hated teams in the NBA.
I mean, bottom line is, I think they gave Zion that statement to make. I don't think it was any of that at the time in the moment. I think in the moment he wanted to get the crowd a little show, so he did the windmill. It's as simple as that. My bottom line is, we oftentimes talk about the unwritten rules of the game in regards to baseball and basketball, and I know that's one of the unwritten rules that, okay, you don't try to score near the end of the game when the game is pretty much over. It's kind of bad sportsmanship. Me myself, I don't care because I think people forget oftentimes these are games. They were meant to be enjoyed. If you have a player like Zion that could fly out the gym and do a windmill or whatnot, let him do it. If anything, what you have created is a little bit of hype to where we can start to now press one Zion Williamson to get in the slam dunk contest. Because I do not believe that we will ever get a decent one again until the real people that do the real dunks in the real games, the Zions, the LeBrons, the Giannis's of the world. These are the people we need to be seeing in the slam dunk contest. And if it takes you to throw a few dollars in the mix, it take a FanDuel or a DraftKings to put up a hot millie to the winner, have to go to them and have to go to the charity of their choice, then I think it's time to do that so we can get a real show.
I don't think that'll never happen, due to the fact that most of them guys look at it like they don't want to get hurt and they're protecting themselves. A lot of them is not as hardcore as we used to have, how we were back in our day. Remember, Jordan did that dunk contest and played in the All-Star game. That same damn game. That same day.
As did,
I don't think they do it like that nowadays.
But yeah, like I said, they don't view it the way some of us old heads do. That's why it's not as important to them. But like I said, you put enough zeros behind it, I think we can make it important for them. That's why I'm saying do that. Do it for the sport, people. DraftKings, they making $1 million right now while we sitting here. It's nothing to them. It's nothing. But to those players, it's bragging rights and then some. For all we know, they may take that $500,000 and treat they homies on the team to a couple Lexuses or something. Who knows? But yeah, let's do something with that. Anyway, that's all I got for that one there. The blitz continues. Joel Embiid put up 53. It's the second time this season where he's put up over 50. And both of those games, it was a double-double. So that being said, is Joel starting to step up to that next level? Or is it just some nights Joel just going to show you that I can dominate?
Hell, you already know. I thought he was supposed to have been the MVP already, man. But I still feel like he got a little bit of taste in his mouth and want to show people, his actions versus speaking upon it. Because last year, a lot of people looked at it like, he was being a sourpuss because he basically complained about it and he had something to say right after they gave it to Jokovic on Twitter. But when they gave it to Jokic, he was like, well, man, it kind of had a shrug sign. But it was like, no, man, you don't have to do all that. You could just play the way you've been playing this year, and which he's been playing phenomenal. And I feel like right now that his numbers and what he's doing, he's one of the lead runners for the MVP. And then you got to put in that young man, Jason Tatum, and then you could throw in, Luka. But I still feel like
before we get into all of that, I want to specifically talk about Philly. Keep in mind, Maxi's been out for a minute now. Probably gonna be another couple weeks before they get him back. But that being said, I see one person on that Philly squad that they don't really need, and I would say that would be the dude that was the former Piston, the former Orlando Magic, the best friend of the big fella. I mean, it's like he plays power forward Tobias Harris, but I don't really think he fit into what they're really trying to do there. What do you think, Hugh?
I just look at it and I say, for the most part, man, they just trying to build enough people and enough talent around that roster to where they can have enough. Like you said,
I still feel to this day when they did the trade with Ben Simmons, they should have kept Steph's little brother Steph, and they should have gave him Tobias Harris. That's the move that should have been made.
Which I'm surprised too is Tobias Harris only shows up when he want to, man. And if they ever won the championship, Lord knows he'd be that one guy in the meme that said, he only did so much, and and still got the A in the project because you never know which Tobias Harris you're gonna get in this side. Because I felt like when he was here, I was really hurt that they let him go. But I still just don't feel like he do enough. He just there. He kind of goes through the motions.
And I definitely say, do not sleep on that dude Shake Milton over there as well. He is definitely
Yeah,
one of my early candidates for Sixth Man of the Year or even Most Improved Player because he definitely been showing up and showing out at times for that team also. But going back
he
to your
was
discussion
before Max.
about MVP candidates, you had Jason Tatum who definitely showed up and showed out last night in that game against the Lakers. We're gonna come back to that in a minute. But somebody else you threw in the mix, Luka Doncic. You definitely got to talk Giannis. Giannis is always going to be an MVP candidate.
Always,
But
always.
this being said, the reason why the Lakers are now 11-16 is because most of those games you actually did get a healthy Anthony Davis. Based upon that, do you think he is a possible candidate for MVP?
Absolutely, due to the fact that LeBron James was upset at one point because he definitely wanted him to step up a little more in his game. And it was kind of like almost passing the torch like D Wade. He was going to kind of take a little bit off, take his pedal off the metal and let AD do his thing, but AD just couldn't stay healthy consistently. And now he is, man, he's showing the dominant force that he's always have been when healthy. And yeah, I definitely feel that way because there are not that many games under 500 and they can make a good run. And the sad part is, too, all the good that's going on. We talked about the bad, too. It's a possibility that I don't really know where Pat Beverly really fits on the team right now, to be honest with
It
you.
definitely seems to be there's always that one person on each one of these squads we're talking about that don't quite fit in the mix with the rest of them. Kind of an extra, so to speak. Because keep in mind, I think you got to remember the reason why they got Pat Bev to begin with was because they thought they would have issues with Russell. But understand, Russell has accepted his role as the sixth man off the bench, has done
Doing
pretty
pretty
good
good.
overall. He's cut
Yeah,
down his turnovers. He stopped taking a lot of those stupid shots he was taking. He's playing some great defense.
always have been a good defender.
So that being said, I think if we do finally find a good shooter to add to that mix and can get some more consistent play out of Lonnie Walker the fourth, I think it's a chance they could step up and make the playoffs. Now, I'm gonna go through a few of the NBA teams right quick and have some quick discussion in regards to what they got going right now. I want to hear your honest opinion on them right quick, Hugh, if you would.
Okay.
Quick update: the Pistons are losing to the Hornets, 62-55. We got the Pacers blowing out the Warriors,
Not
68 to
surprised.
44. Understand that the Warriors currently have the worst record in the NBA on the road at 2-12. And it appears like it's happening again. You got New York 27, Chicago 23 early. And we also have the Kings and Raptors playing. It is 27, Toronto, 23 for the Kings. We'll keep y'all updated on that. But in the meanwhile, I want to talk about some of these NBA teams in general. First, I want to bring up the team with the best record in the league still, the Boston Celtics. Now, understand, last night, it was a nip and tuck type of game. It was pretty well contested. It was some runs made by both the Lakers and the Celtics. They did pull it out in overtime, I think primarily because they just a younger team and the Lakers ran out of gas last night. But the game that I found curious was the game that they lost to the Warriors on Saturday. What was some of your observations on that one, Hugh?
But I thought was when the Warriors play well and they're clicking on all cylinders, they're still that dangerous team. But it's like, will Golden State Warriors please stand up because they haven't really this year. They haven't put enough games together to where I still feel like they, are more or less predominant team that they was in the past. Yeah, you seen Clay got off and Steph got off, and the team just feeds around their energy when the Splash Brothers are doing well, and that's when you get your contributes from Wiggins and all the other players, and Poole gonna show up because when you get a lot of the pressure off of those guys when those their two star players are playing at a high level, but I just don't feel like they put enough of that together to where we can see a consistent Golden State Warrior team, and they're gonna have to do that eventually for them to. I definitely still feel like they'll make the playoffs, but I feel like sometimes them resting too many other players could come back to hunt them. Unfortunately,
I mean, bottom line, the Warriors go as far as that old adage, which we constantly talk about. When you live by the three, you die by the three. And it's to the point now where pretty much everybody on that Warrior squad, hey, what's going on, Miss Pat? Everybody on that Warrior squad is definitely shooting up a three at some point in that game. And yes, they do have some good shooters. Don't sleep on DiVincenzo, one of the guys they picked up from Milwaukee. And also, I like what Kaminga brings to the game from time to time. But that
yeah,
being said, the whole key to this season is one, getting Andrew Wiggins back in the lineup and healthy, because they definitely could have used him the other night when they played Milwaukee. He's about the only person they got on that squad that could really contend with Giannis to any degree. And two, when we get the big fella back from the G League, we got to see him be productive. He was a
yeah.
high ranked pick from Memphis for a reason. And if Wiseman is not able to show that he could do some quality big man work, I think that was a wasted pick by the Warriors. And
It's
that's when I
starting to look that way,
they definitely
unfortunately.
want to look into trying to find another big man to throw in that lineup. Looney can only do so much. That being said, let's talk about the fact that, again, going back to the Celtics, remember, this team is not even fully staffed at this point. Understand, last night they were missing Horford because he's out with an injury for a little bit, and we still waiting for the
Robert
young
Williams.
Robert Williams to come back to the lineup, because I think that changes the game completely at that point. We know that the Celtics can score with the best of them, but when you add that young man on defense and he plays the type of defense that he played last year, understand that he was never fully healthy in that entire playoffs. If you get him at 100% and get any type of offense from him, the Celtics could be very dangerous.
I agree, man, because they've been putting a lot together this year, which really surprised me because when I look at them, I was like, man, are they going to give us the production this year, or are they just basically going to switch it up on us again? I didn't think that they were going to be, because it seemed like they kind of gave up last year at one point. And now I just think a lot of them guys had that bad taste in their mouth, man, and they want to fulfill that goal of going back. When you get that close and you win a couple of games, and you're so many games before being eliminated, to actually win those games that they lost and to hoist that trophy, that's big, man, especially for the Boston organization. Golden State started to really establish themselves as a championship caliber team or franchise. But look at these guys like the Lakers and Boston Celtics who solidify championships. I feel like now they're starting to feel how that is. And when you get that energy from Bill Russell and some of the guys who played and won those championships, man, it makes you get that feeling in your stomach again, man. And they got that hunger right now. And I'm definitely surprised. I'm not as surprised to see Tatum play as well, but the consistency now when you see him and Jaylen Brown playing well, and the other guys are contributing as well, man, that's a really good team. And people still forget Malcolm Brogdon, man. He come off the bench and he makes that team even more dangerous. But yeah, once they get Robert Williams back, man, that's going to be a really interesting team at the rest of the year.
Absolutely. Okay. Couple more teams I want to talk about. Then we're gonna move on to the college basketball situation. Um, Portland, basically early last week, got back their main man, Dame Dollar. He is already putting up some nice numbers. Do you think he makes a difference enough to where they could be top contenders in the West?
Always, man. As long as you got him providing and being their team leader, because they got a couple of pieces from free agency that actually can work with him, and everybody's been trying to step up on that team. It was sad that see him have to build from scratch, but now when you get some weapons around him and get people who can actually take some of the pressure off him, because he gonna step up in the big play moments. I definitely still feel like they will be one of the teams to reckon with. Even if they're at a lower seed, like a 5 or a 6 seed, I still feel like they'll actually give any team a good run and push anybody to the limits in the West. Absolutely.
That being said, want to talk about the Bulls right quick. It's looking like Lonzo Ball may definitely be out till after the All-Star break. Are we ever going to see the Lonzo Ball that we thought we were getting his rookie season?
I'm not thinking so, man. What I felt like, remember, we talked about that. I said, man, if he don't come back by the All-Star break, they might as well shut him down. I felt like that'd be necessary. If he's not back then, shut that man down, because it wouldn't even be necessary for him to come and play, because if he do come back, sometimes people get to the point where they play a little ginger and they don't want to play and be as aggressive. Or if you do go out there and you be too overly aggressive, he could get injured again. He's injury prone, man, and it's a history with him right now. So, yeah, man, if they don't get him back by the All-Star game, I just say, man, just sit him out and let him rest the rest of the season. So where he's 100%, to where he won't put himself at risk, because they paid a lot of money for that man. So you don't want to mess up that investment.
Well, speaking of injuries and such, we're going to switch over to college basketball. I'm going to start out with the women this time. Let's talk about, of course, my favorite women's team to talk about, UConn. Speaking of injuries, the injury bug has hit them really hard. Understand that last year they had injury issues. This year, the year before, they had COVID issues. Not to make any excuses for Gino and his crew, but think about it. You basically got four of the starting five sitting there on the bench right now. They still managed to win most of the games they played, but it's definitely got to mess with the psyche of what UConn is usually about, when suddenly you can't seem to stay healthy, and now you've made this very difficult pre-conference schedule, playing some of the best teams in the country, and you playing shorthanded. What's some of your thoughts on that, Hugh?
I think Coach Gino Ariana need to stop overworking them, man. I remember you told me you didn't see some of the practices and you looked at it and kind of went over some of those and feel like they work just as hard as the men, and he
If not
overworked.
harder.
I think that he need to take a step back from that, man. Know your players. Yeah, make them scrimmage one on one to make it competitive, but don't overwork them. And I understand it all start with cardio and getting them in the best of shape as possible, but I just feel like he just needs to take a step back, because when all of your star players like Beckers and Isaac Fudd and the people of that nature are out because they're injured and you don't know when you're getting them back, he just needs to take a step back and say, hey, I need to be a little bit more lighter and better yet, not so overly aggressive the way we train and the way we practice, because I mean, practice do help you when you go out there and you play, because you can be out there rusty and just thinking you just gonna come and light up the place. But then, man, just have them go through walkthroughs and do certain things to where they're not putting that much stress and strain on them. Because I just feel like it's disgusting that all those great players are not there, because they're not going to have a chance to compete. And you already looked at it and said you were afraid for them this year, because it's a lot of competitive teams with big women and they can't really handle those type of teams. But to not have some of your best players to even give it their all to compete, regardless when the game is on the line, it's not really good, and it's not really showing a good example from him as far as keeping his players healthy. I mean, sometimes accidents happen, but when all these women are getting hurt on that team, then you got to start pointing the finger.
Very true. Okay, let's take a quick look at the top 20 for the men this week. You got Maryland, Auburn, Illinois, Mississippi State, UCLA. That's the 20 through 16. You got Gonzaga at 15. You got Kentucky at 13. You got Duke at 12. These are usually teams that are in the top 10. this time of year.
Exactly.
Why do you think we currently have Purdue, Virginia, UConn at 1, 2, 3, followed by, of course, your team Alabama, and all the blue blood teams in the middle of the rankings?
It's really surprising to me, man. Purdue really came out of nowhere. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. They had some good players last year. You know, we know of some. You know, Ivy for one, and I
Right.
love the kid Isaiah Thompson. But it wasn't really too much that I've seen, and I said, "Whoa, this team is amazing." The team just have good coaching, man, and it's funny because you usually say that for the men's football, but it seems like the basketball team came in on that level now. And when we talk about UConn, we don't ever really talk about too much about the men. And to
Right.
see those teams and the Utahs and other teams like that who elevated their skills and they're the top teams, but then you got the higher echelon teams and usually be up in the top 10, like drifting around that 20 and like mid card before you even get to the tens. And by them not being in the top 10, I'm really surprised this year. But then at the same time, we discussed with Duke how they don't have the coach, Coach K. And I think there's going to be a lot of adjusting with some of these teams, but it's just really surprising me too that Drew Timmy and Gonzaga's not really doing that good. He's like one of them funny dudes that you see at the YMCA with the headband on who just play hard and you can't stand him because he's not a great player, but he's good at everything. But I'm just really surprised a lot of those teams ain't step up. And like you said, the competition got a little bit more steep for them, man. They're not playing a lot of these suck teams on the West Coast like the Long Beach teams and things who are not really that established. They're having to play more higher caliber teams. And I just feel like Gonzaga's a good team, but when you're playing better competition, sometimes that come to the plate. Maybe because they lost a few guys in the draft too, but at the same time, I just don't feel like they're at where they should be right now, which is definitely surprising.
I think what it boils down to is a lot of those good teams that I mentioned in the middle of the pack, they've been playing each other a lot. You getting more of the good tournaments early on in the season, with the Atlanta tournament that they have every year, the one they have out in Hawaii. You getting the Jimmy V Classic, and then also you getting the ACC versus Big Ten type challenges. Those type of games, we getting them early in the season, and because of that, I think the better teams are playing each other more often than they have in the past. Understand? I think those teams what we mentioned, they definitely will rise back up into the top 10 once conference season starts because, well, one, you got to realize the SEC, much like in football, is probably going to be the best conference in basketball this year as well because
Let me hit
the level of competition is definitely stepping up amongst those teams in the SEC.
Let me hit you with an audible, E.
All right.
We were just talking about NBA, and you were talking about Lonzo Ball. Chicago Bull point guard Lonzo Ball may not play at all during the 2022-2023 campaign.
Wow.
That's the
Wow.
news right now. And
So
I was
now they
just
say he
saying,
may be out for the season. And keep in mind, when you look at his last 3 seasons, I don't think he's even played half a season between them 3 seasons.
that's why I was telling Pride at the time they said that from the get-go that it's a possibility that he might not come back at all this year, and you're starting to see it now. But it's just sad because I feel like Chicago wanted to go in the right directions and they want us to spend money. And at first, the Warriors didn't think that 85 million and somebody was going to fork that up from him for his injuries, and Chicago did. But at the same time, I know they're not worried about it because now when you look at Chicago Pelicans, the Pelicans got the better end of that deal.
Bottom line is, I do believe Drogic was on that team at one point. They should have kept him, first of all. Second of all, again, going back to what we talked about earlier with the Pistons and them considering trade certain folks, um,
Uh-huh.
Killian Hayes might not be a bad pickup for Chicago at this point. They could
That,
use a bigger guard, which he is, somebody that can shoot and distribute. He's not great at that, but he's good at it. And I think it would improve what they got going on there with Zach LaVine and the crew. And of course with Mr. Mid-Range Game himself.
And
But
Dragic, he still is with the Chicago Bulls, so that was a good pickup, for health
well,
reasons for
well,
that.
well, I will say, whatever minutes they got him playing, he should be playing more. If he's not playing starter minutes, he needs to be, because I think that's going to be key for them doing anything.
Yeah,
Man, even though they are in the same division as the Bucks, and the Bucks pretty much going to run away with the Midwest, no doubt.
they've
But
had an issue, man, with that injuries.
that being said, let us switch over back to the women's side and check out the rankings there this week. As you know, UConn lost the other day to a very good Maryland squad, even though they too were shorthanded. Um, I'm sorry, as good as UConn is, having some of the best players on the planet, when you're playing some of the top schools and they spent all those years getting their butt whooped by UConn, ain't nobody gonna have no sympathy for you. They smell them like chum in the water to a shark. So now they get them on the schedule, and UConn does have by far the toughest non-conference schedule of any team in the country this year. It's just all these injuries are happening to them at the very wrong time. Now it does appear that Nico Muse should be back for this upcoming game on Sunday after being out under concussion protocol. We're probably looking at another week or two for AZ Fudd to come back from her knee injury. Um, we got Duca; she should be back with that thumb injury. So most of their players will be back in the next couple of weeks. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do in their conference schedule this year, because they do have a couple decent teams in the conference this year. And like I said, even though they're shorthanded, ain't nobody gonna be looking to do them no favors. That being said, right now there are 8 undefeated teams in the top 25 for the women. Kansas is one at 22. You got Utah at 13. LSU at 11, coached by Kim Mulkey. You got Virginia Tech at 10 and 0 at number 6. You got Indiana and Ohio State at 3 and 4. And of course, the number one team in the country again is South Carolina at 9 and 0. Let's just say 30 days from now, how many of those teams are still undefeated?
I'm gonna say maybe 4.
All right. I'm gonna go definitely South Carolina at that point. They should still be undefeated. I say between Ohio State and Indiana, more than likely they're gonna play each other sometime next 30 days. So one of those teams will knock each other out of it. Arkansas, because they're in the SEC, I can see them taking a loss. But the team that intrigues me is Kansas. Remember, Kansas
Yeah,
is a basketball school, but not usually for
not
women's
women,
basketball.
not at all.
So that's definitely a team I have not seen play this year, but I am curious to see what they got going on in the water over there. Um, any teams in particular that you got any interest in, you that you haven't seen play yet on the women's side?
Yeah, I know my squad I was looking at, man. As much as I hear from Caitlin Clark and all those ladies, and I told you I like the Emory lady, Martinez. Remember, I talk about her a lot, man, and more than Caitlin Clark this year because of how big of numbers she's been putting up. And that's Maddie Segrist, man. Like, dude, she put up double doubles on a regular. And if she don't, it'll be like a 25-9 game. And for her to put those numbers up on a regular like that, because at first when I started doing the women's scores and checking in on them, I was like, wait a minute. Every time I turn around, she was putting up double doubles, something crazy. Like 23 and 15 and 26 and 17. And I said, this is crazy for a woman to average that on a regular. But yeah, she's been pretty dominant, and I definitely want to see her play and get a chance to see her up close in person because we've seen the Caitlin Clarks and Alea Boston's and Ozzy Fudds and all of the bigger name players like that. But Villanova usually
Definitely,
don't
I
get
want
that
to
much
point
love.
out for my UConn squad, Aaliyah Edwards, who has definitely stepped her game up these last few games. Keep in mind she was on the Canadian basketball squad over the summer, and she got a lot of good exposure with them. And I think a lot of that gave her a lot of confidence going into this season. And I think once they actually get most of the people back at UConn, you might see her have some very dominant games. So I'm really looking forward to when they finally do play South Carolina and her going head up with Aaliyah Boston. I think that's going to be one of the marquee matchups of the entire season.
Yeah, man, I definitely like to see that type of competition because we talked about it before, and I didn't get a chance to see the game in its entirety at first. But when you talked to me, you said, "Man, Hugh, did you see the battle between the number 1 and 2 seed?" And I said, "No, I haven't seen it." And Stanford's always going to be a threat to any team because of the fact is they got championship caliber on their team as well. So, yeah, man, this has been really interesting because surprising enough, you see upsets, not really with more of the top seeded schools, but like the middle of the pack. I've been seeing a few upsets with some of the teams and teams I've never heard of before. And it's cool to see that because you still got the parity, and it's not really to the point where, besides when it comes to the top 5 teams, the more dominant teams, but a lot of even the dominant teams are barely squeaking by. Some of those games, they barely, they'll hold on and they'll win it. Probably, I don't know if it's from luck or just championship pedigree, but it's just been really good to see on both sides from the men and the women's sports of basketball. And like you said, man, they've been advertising it pretty good. There's been a lot of games on ABC and a lot of games played on Sunday as well. Sunday's my day, but I definitely still been peeking in on some of them games because when you look at some of the games, you're starting to see just the balance now in sports and the way the women been playing the game now. Because he told me at one point, this was one point like earlier last year, man. Start checking out the women basketball more. And I told him I used to, but I just don't know where to start. And it's just like hopscotch, man. You can jump right in and you can pick up, you might be a little rusty, but when you start to see it, man, it's just like you never missed it, man. You could jump right in and you could start checking out and seeing just a good play. And I definitely been enjoying basketball. I want to get a little deeper into it soon, but right now I've been, keeping my eye on football and some of the men's basketball. But man, the college basketball is definitely getting stronger right now, and it's gonna pick up because besides this triple header, wasn't really going to be nothing on Saturday. So more of the weekend is going to be where it's at. Oh man, speaking of her, did you hear that people are
So
still
glad
up?
we ain't got to go there this week and that
Did
young
you hear
lady is
about
actually home.
did you hear about people are still giving heat to Coach Bokey, man, because they're saying, yeah, she said that she was glad that Brittany's back and Brittany, is at home where she needs to be. But did you hear I think people still giving a backlash about how she didn't speak upon Brittany Griner and probably because her sexuality. And it's sad that
I'm
we
real
have to
curious to
say something.
see once they finally do talk to Brittany in prime time at some point if they bring that up and what her thoughts are in regards to that. I am curious, but they're definitely saying for the time being they're giving Brittany and her family their space. It's good to see that they have been out and about in their hometown, and they even said Brittany got a chance to play a little basketball. So I'm glad that that was something that she wanted to do. One of the things that people were concerned about is that after going through the ordeal she went through, that she may perhaps not want to play anymore. She definitely said that is
Unfortunately.
not the case, but I'll be real curious to see if she has any intentions of going overseas again to play basketball, or she's just primarily going to stay here. I'm also interested to see if anybody's going to offer her any type of things to where she would need to go. For example, offer her one of the chairs in the booth, for example, and maybe cover some of the college basketball, or basically be one of the analysts on ESPN or CBS Sports or some along those lines. I think she is well spoken enough to do that.
That'd be awesome.
Yep. So we'll see how that plays out. That being said, y'all, that leads us to one major thing that we always talk about this time of year on the show. That will be that football. So we're gonna get to the Guru's football session, but first, a short commercial break. This is Game Time Audible, Buck Blitz Edition. It's going pretty good. We talking our stuff, but of course now we got to talk about that NFL situation. We'll be back after this little
That's
interlude.
where the pressure hit me at, E.
Ha ha. All right, y'all. We are back. Game Time Audible. E-Buck in the building. Hugh the Sports Guru in the house. Quick update on some of the NBA scores. We got the Pacers now up just 10 over the Warriors. Warriors making a classic third quarter comeback as they often do. You
Yes,
got
sir.
the Pistons now ahead of the Hornets,
I seen that.
84-76. That's interesting. And in the other game, hold on. In the other game, we got the Magic still beating the Hawks by quite a bit, 87-73 in the third. You got the Raptors and the Knicks about to get to halftime, 56-51 there. And your ESPN game, the first one tonight is the Knicks and the Bulls. The Knicks are currently winning 51-39. The night game tonight on ESPN will be a decent matchup between the Timberwolves and the Clippers. So that being said, let us go now and talk a little NFL, if you would. Time for the Guru Sports Report. But before we do that, I do want to acknowledge one person in another sport, if you would allow that, Hugh. I want to talk
Yeah.
about this guy right here that made a little history last night. That brother there.
I definitely peeped that out. Man, that's huge of him, man, to get that accomplishment. When you said it, at first I wasn't really paying it no mind. And then when I seen that he got the 800, man, and he did it on a hat trick, man, I said, man, that's crazy. We always knew how talented he was. And I know one of my boys didn't want him to win that championship he won. I would definitely like for him to win one more. But his legacy is it's in stone right now. He's one of the third players in history to
And
get that
understand
accomplishment.
he did get the hat trick right now last night to get goal number 800. One of only three players to ever score 800 goals in the NHL. He is now just one goal behind the great Gordie Howe, a Detroit icon, for second place. Based upon how hot he's been lately, I would not be surprised if next week we are talking about him being in second place, needing just another 95, I believe, after that to tie the great one himself. Do you think he's going to get there, Hugh?
You know what? I definitely think he can. Definitely with his skills and his mindset. It's just really crazy when you see that because I don't care if you watch or if you don't watch, but to accomplish and be established in that with the great one, Wayne Gretzky, to say that you'd be in the top three and scoring all time, and you could make your way up to number two and go on and beat his record. That's amazing, man. Even with one championship, he'll definitely be a first ballot Hall of Famer, no question.
Understand, it was a time when we thought that nobody was going to ever beat Kareem's record, and here we are. We got LeBron about 800 points away from doing that. So You just don't know sometimes. Understand that Ovechkin is 38, but then if you remember people like Yager who played to damn near they was 50, and then of course Gordie Howe who played past 50. So I say with a few more decent years of production, I most definitely could see him passing Gretzky. I think he will. And that being said, if he retired tomorrow, he is definitely first ballot unanimous choice Hall of Famer as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That being said, we are getting back into the NFL. Of course, we will talk about the games coming up in a bit, but let's discuss a few games last week. Wasn't a lot of great games last week, to be honest. A lot of kind of couple games where, like for example, the Chiefs and the Broncos, where the Chiefs barely beat the Broncos. I was
That's a
kind
really
of
good game.
surprised by that. What was your thoughts on that one, Hugh?
I think a healthy Russell Wilson without a concussion possibly could have won that game. It was just crazy because we talked about the parity in the NFL, man. It's like no team is really far fetched, man. When you look at it, and trust me, I've been putting a lot of stuff on that FanDuel, and I've been disappointed with some of the results. You never know, man. That any given Sunday speech is probably still one of the best things I've ever heard because every time we look up, I might text E like, "What the heck is going on?" Or he might hit me with the same thing. And yeah, man, that was just one of them games where I thought at first Kansas City was gonna run over them, and I think I did a parlay on them, and it definitely didn't happen the way I expected it, man. And it's just I just feel like them guys came out to play, and a lot of times, no matter how bad your division rivals are, man, it just seems like those games are very intriguing to me. But the uncharacteristic thing about it was Patrick Mahomes throwing the 3 interceptions. Some of that stuff he do with the crazy no look passes and stuff, he's going to have to calm that down. And he has done a great job this year on not doing a lot of that stuff. The one play was spectacular when he shuffled past it, and the guy ran in for the touchdown. But that stuff's not going to be there all the time. And you look at the talent level, and yeah, Kansas City is a more talented team right now in Denver. But I just feel like that was definitely uncharacteristic of him not taking care of the ball. And I feel like he needs to do a better job. Some of them no look passes and things he do is spectacular, but at the same time, you can fall to a talented team like if you're doing that against like the Buffalo Bills, for instance. You can't do that against the Bills, and you can't do that against like a Dolphin team, or you can't do that against some of the teams in that caliber, man. You can't just do that. You have to do better because Cincinnati, man, seems like they just got their number two, but you can't do uncharacteristic things like that to cause your team the game. And that happened, and that surprised me with 3 interceptions. A lot of that came back for points.
I will say these three things. One, I think at times Mahomes gets bored. He bored with the regular season. That's why he pulls out some of this stuff that they've been practicing in practice just to see if it'll work or to at least give you a thought process or two. Okay, he might do that. So let's be mindful of that. And then he's prepared to do something entirely different. And keep in mind, Andy, his coach, he encourages him to do these plays. He encourages him and Kelsey to go behind in practice and kind of work out some trickery and a little sleight of hand and that type of stuff. Andy Reid likes the fact that Mahomes is a little non-traditional in his play, and he encourages that, so he will continue to do it. I also am going to put out this guarantee. If the Bengals play the Chiefs again this year, the Chiefs will beat them. I am putting that guarantee on it.
What'd you
If
say?
those two teams play again, the Chiefs will beat them.
Who? Beat who?
The Bengals. They will beat them.
I wouldn't be surprised. It took like that. It took that situation where they got that fumble to win that game because the game wasn't looking good that far until that happened. That kind of changed the whole momentum of the game. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with that because the Bengals are still to the point where they're starting to get their chemistry, but we still don't know the real team, because you know how they are. Sometimes they'll play well and they'll play well on the big stage, and sometimes they just just go with the motions, and they look bad, kind of like at the time when we saw them with the Cleveland Browns in that game. Not saying that it didn't take away from it was being a division rival, and it's always going to be a hard competitive game, but it just seemed like sometimes they fall asleep behind the wheel, especially Joe Cool.
I think at times they get bored too. But that being said, a couple of games that was kind of surprising. What the hell happened with the Cowboys and the Texans last week?
That's why we always talk. We used to bash and make fun of and laugh and point the finger at the Cowboys. That's the reason why. Those guys came out lackluster. I still feel like the Texans should have won that game. It just wasn't enough talent versus what Dallas had. But I feel like they still had enough to where they should have won that game and was surprised that it went Dallas' way. Some people are going to have stinker games, and sometimes you just look and you be like, okay, this is a stinker game, or maybe two. But when they put that performance up against a team who's possibly going to get the number one draft pick overall, um, I just don't feel like that, that hit me well. It just left a bad taste in my mouth, and it made me smile a little bit. And I said, hey, those are still the same Cowboys.
When all is said and done, somebody need to be handing Bryce Young the Texans playbook right now because they're getting the number one pick. It's not even an issue with that anymore. That's almost a given as far as I'm concerned. Texans are just, I mean, for as bad as they are, another couple of weeks, they shutting it down. So at that point,
Yep.
ain't no sense even discussing them no further for the rest of the season, really.
And
And then
already got my too.
another game that I was kind of shocked by, and know the Lions and the Vikings was not one of them. I called that game. I told you guys I thought they would win, and indeed they did. No, the other game I'm talking about is the game between the Panthers and the Seahawks, where the Panthers actually won that game.
And Gino didn't look so well. He threw like two picks unnecessarily, and they manhandled them through the whole game. And that's the crazy part too. Is just like we talked about the parody on Any Given Sunday, because at the end of the day, it was like I definitely felt like Gino was going to run over those guys, and they actually pulled that game out. And it was crazy to me because some of the games that when you expect for somebody to do good, that they do bad. And I said, oh man, this is a game where I feel like they're going to have a good time. Gino's going to act a fool, put up big numbers, and it's definitely going to have them still relevant in the playoff talk. And not only that, but besides that, to basically still say that regardless of what happened with Russ, I feel like the Seattle still got the better end so far, so good. But that didn't happen because he definitely didn't look like the Gino at the beginning of the season, or what we looked at that we thought to be one of the MVP candidates. He took a step back himself. But I got to give credit to Steve Wilkes, though, man, because he's an interim coach, and they don't have really no talent whatsoever over there, little to none. And to go out there and play like they play every Sunday and compete, you got to give your hat off to him, man. And I don't feel like it's good for him to have an interim anything, man. They should consider giving that man that job. And we always talk about it every year. D'Amico Ryan, one of the guys who should be considered to get the job. We always talking about Eric Bieniemy. They need to start making better moves than what they've been doing, man, because a lot of these guys are capable.
One person, one of the talking heads, brought up that maybe in terms of the Rooney Rule, they should start having them double up now and basically have them interview either one African American and one other minority coach in addition to whoever else they're gonna have for the job, or basically have them interview at least two people of color when they do the job search, or maybe perhaps require them to hire at least one person on their staff that is African American or Hispanic or what have you. I don't know what the real solution is. I like, like Jerry Jones said, sometimes you just know who you want for the job ahead of the game. You do know that basically if the Cowboys
Yeah.
make the playoffs, lose in the first round, they probably gonna fire McCarthy, and we all pretty much know who Jerry Jones wants to replace him. So because of the Rooney Rule, yeah, you maybe you bring in Dion just for the sake of bringing in Dion, knowing he already got a job. But you basically satisfy the Rooney Rule, but you already know that he wants to have his good buddy back, the guy that was once on that staff there in Dallas, the man that is currently doing his thing in the broadcast booth. But we already knew when he left the Saints, more than likely, the place he would end up is coaching Dallas. So do
I'm
not be
not
surprised
surprised
if it
neither.
happens that way.
And I think that's why he set out, man, because it's like we always look at Dallas for when they had their downfalls, man. I think more people do celebrations than I do most times. But at the end of the day, Mr. Payton, if he could get that job, man, with the talent over there, I definitely don't think it'll be a hiccup over there. So, yeah, man. And that's what I think all they were really missing is a coach, man, a strong minded coach at that, because to almost lose to the Texans, man. And they gave them everything, man. Dak looked really bad. They looked out of sync. And it was just like, wow, man, did the Texans just come in there and try to punch Dallas in the mouth at home? And yeah, I was definitely surprised in that outcome myself. Always, you already know that, Coach B.
Yeah, Coach B checking in, talking about Go Blue as always. What up, Coach B? You know it's Go Blue all day. What up, fam? That being said, one last game we got to talk about last week was that disaster in San Francisco.
And what was crazy to me about it was we've been talking about it. It just seems like a lot of times when Tom go out there, man, he have one vision and he see another. You know how people do, man, like how me and you can put a filter on our face or we can catfish somebody. I think they've been the biggest catfish team all this year because when you look at them, you see the talent around them, but then they definitely haven't been up to par. And it was just embarrassing to watch because I'm not saying Purdy's a bad quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. But at the same time, I'm not trying to be funny. If me and you were in football shape and could throw the ball as a quarterback with the talent they have over there, you should be able to beat a team like the Buccaneers who's not in sync. But at the same time, it was just to the point where it just looked really bad, you know. It was bad. I definitely didn't like what happened that whole game. And it was just, they were embarrassed. They didn't score a touchdown until the very end. And I just felt like a lot of it you could say is Brady's fault, but it's not really not his fault. I feel like the coaching in general, I don't know what the hell's going on with Mr. Todd Bowles. Don't know what's going on with Byron Leftwich and the way he's coaching and his approach. I know Tom Brady. It was a rumor too this week that he wanted to put in different plays, and Todd Bowles denied it. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on over there in that organization, but it's painful to see how bad the NFC South is, man. And somebody please win that division.
I mean, the two things that a lot of the talking heads talked about in regards to the Bucks this week was one, the obvious question: is Brady finally done?
I don't think he'll be back there. And we don't know his future, which I still
I
feel like
understand.
he's
When
coming.
I say finally done, I'm saying is he done? Period.
That could definitely be a possibility. But I've been hearing a lot of rumors too about him going back to New England.
Which
I don't
leads to
see
the
why.
and Coach B agrees. No, he don't think he's done. Which leads to the second question that's being asked. Uh, Assuming that he's not going to go back to Tampa Bay, where do you think he sets his sights on going?
I wouldn't be surprised with New England. I know Gronk basically brought that up today too, and saying that they'll welcome him back with open arms. I definitely don't see San Francisco. Why would you have a 45-year-old man running that team when you could get talent and you already have talent over there? It ain't really too many teams that I say, but I know for sure that can possibly be a
Well,
reunion with.
understand that we do know at one point it was discussed him going to Miami. Do you think that's still maybe possibly on the table?
I feel like Tua will really have to do bad this year to make that a reality.
And that being
Um,
said, the other team that a lot of people throwing in the mix, the team they just lost to, the 49ers.
Definitely been hearing a lot of that come up right now, man. I feel like with the 49ers, are you guys going to keep Trey Lance or how they're going to do it? You know, because Trey Lance, he was supposed to be that guy. They gave up a lot to get Trey Lance. And for him to get injured like he did, and for Jimmy Garoppolo, who's constantly being injured, get injured again, it just seems like they having bad luck with the whole quarterback situation because now it's a possibility that Purdy might be hurt. I mean, I know they saying right now he's questionable to play on Thursday.
He is still day to day at this point, and if he does not play, then we got Mr. Johnson playing. And when we talk journeyman, I don't think nobody is more journeyman than him, perhaps with the exception of Colt McCoy, who has been on his share of teams too.
Yeah, Lance
Coach B
definitely
is
is the
saying
future.
Lance is the future.
Yep.
I'm curious to see how they play that one in San Francisco, particularly if they, well, you know, they make the playoffs, but if they basically don't go far in the playoffs, is that something they would consider just for no other reason to put butts in the seats? Because Tom Brady definitely brings the milkshake to the yard.
And they're gonna have to do something in Tampa if he considers staying with the Bucks.
Okay, now speaking of San Fran, they had a good game, but the one bad thing that happened that game was there was an injury to one of the team members on that squad. You want to talk about him for a minute, Hugh?
Yeah, Mr. Tyshawn Raekwon Samuels.
Who that?
You're not getting that name Debo out of my mouth anymore when you're crying like that over an ankle sprain. I can't give you that name. You're not Debo no more. So I'm
Now,
calling
um,
you
are you basically saying Debo soft?
pretty much, yeah, because your boy Kyler Murray didn't cry like that and he tore his ACL completely.
And of course, we did discuss one of the young ladies in college basketball, and she basically tore her ACL, like complete tear. Now, when
So
she
she had
cried, she was in pain. High
yeah.
ankle sprain. Keep in mind, we feel some type of way because me and you both, at one point in our life, have had an high ankle sprain. I did not cry. It hurt. I ain't gonna lie, it hurt it, but I didn't cry. And as far as the,
Right.
everybody's pain threshold is different. We know that. But that being said, the way that man was crying, I just knew he was broke. I just knew he had an injury similar to what happened with your boy KD a couple years ago when he tore his Achilles and the knee. I just knew it was something bad like that. If they didn't cry, I don't think he should have cried.
No, he don't get that Debo name for me no more.
Right.
From now on, his name is Tyshawn Raekwon Samuels.
T
You got to
saying
prove to me.
you got to re-earn that Debo, bro. You got to re-earn the Debo. Okay, that being said, speaking of the other person you mentioned, Kyler Murray, it is announced that he is out for the rest of the season with an ACL tear, not a sprain, but a tear, which means
Yeah.
that not only is he done for the season, but he may not be back in time for the next season. Where does that put the Arizona Cardinals?
Not really looking too good for them right now, man, because Cliff Kingsbury possibly might not be there next year. And then whoever comes into that organizations don't really have no attachments to Kyler Murray because that wasn't his draft pick, and that's not really a person that he actually drafted. So you know how it is. You don't be attached to guys like that when you're not drafting or you're not putting them on there to build your roster. So it might be trouble in paradise. And we've talked about Cliff Kingsbury try to make things so complicated with his playbook, especially with Texas Tech. Speaking of Texas Tech, rest in peace, Mike Leach, man. We're going to miss you, for the air raider and all of the contributes you gave to our lovely sport. You don't probably get the respect that Nick Saban, and you don't get like all the praises that the Nick Sabans and, some of the bigger name coaches get. in college football, but you definitely will be missing. I know people using your offense today in college and even some of the concepts in the pros, but I just don't feel like Kingsbury will be back if things don't go well this year.
I find it interesting that Mike Leach never found his way to be NFL coach. I definitely felt like based on the offense that he basically created for teams that that's something at least one team will be willing to try. But when all is said and done, he definitely will be missed. He definitely was an icon in the coaching ranks. Wasn't everybody's favorite person, but definitely was an interesting character of the game. So yes, he definitely will be missed.
Definitely was innovative.
Right. Looks like we may be having a guest with us shortly. But in the meanwhile, I want to talk about this week's upcoming games as we get near the end of the show here. I definitely want to. You definitely mentioned the fact that OBJ is now out for the rest of the year. That comes as no surprise to me. I think we knew all along it was going to play out like that. Basically, OBJ was trying to collect a little extra money for himself before the following season, I think, because when you live that OBJ lifestyle, I imagine he's probably. I'm not gonna go as far as say that he is lacking fundage, but definitely see him wanting to spend a little bit more cash. But that being said, he'll be back next year somewhere. We'll just have to wait to see where that's going to be, because it's definitely not going to be with the Cowboys.
No, I don't see that.
All
And they
right.
already got Hilton on their roster.
How the Saints got fined basically $500,000 for faking an injury on the Monday night game. Not the only
Yeah,
team that's done that this year. They've
no.
shown footage of other teams doing it. It ain't that big a deal to me. I'm sorry.
See, this is the thing. Troy Vincent felt like it was the integrity part of the game where they looked at it and they felt like they were slowing down the process of the game. Like, say, for instance, if you get the momentum and then that's when the person all of a sudden play her. And I think he felt like the integrity of the game was at stake. So
I
that's
get
why I
it.
believe they did
Trust me,
that.
I get it. I just don't think it was that big a deal to find them that much
I
money.
really don't think so myself. I really thought that that was crazy. They could have disclosed the fine, but I feel like that much was a little bit outrageous. And did you hear too that he's trying to bring in kind of like what the college is doing, where, say, for instance, they're starting to consider ejection people if they're like roughing the passer, on that penalty, or if you rough a defenseless player. I felt like too. I was like, when they say that you can get put out the game and ejected, and maybe penalties are stacked onto that, I was like, well, man, that's kind of crazy that they would even consider doing that now because it's been going on for so many years. But now I think he's looking at it like it's kind of like almost like college now, how they'll say if you targeting and give you the warning, but make that known now kind of upset me and it bothered me at first. But then when I heard he's not really considered doing it this year and he's more or less contemplating on doing it next season, I said, okay, we'll see how that works. But at the same time, yeah, I felt like, yeah, they want to kind of learn something from the college level. And that's why they was doing that. But it's like now you want to bring it up after all this time, and definitely with the whole thing with the faking the injuries. I feel like they was trying to do too much.
I think they going too far with that. I don't think all that's necessary. That's my thought. We got Coach V checking into the building. What's going on, Coach V?
What's up, family? What's up? How y'all be?
What's happening?
What's
How you
good,
feeling,
man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I just came back from a viewing from my cousin. She passed.
bro? My
What's
condolences
crazy
to you,
about
sir.
it? Yeah, what's crazy about her little brother passed before her. She had a heart attack, but she didn't know because she was in a coma. And
Wow.
now we finna bury her, but it's good to see y'all, man. How y'all been, man?
Well, all things considered, we hanging in there, Coach. We got
Yeah,
some things going on
definitely.
outside of what's going on with the network, but we working through them.
Hey man, E, I'm sorry I missed Helena. The tribute to Helena yesterday, man. My bad, bro.
Yeah, it's all good. I know H2 has just been glad that you acknowledged her on that day. So
Oh, no
I
doubt,
appreciate that.
no doubt, no doubt, no doubt, no
But
doubt.
that being said, you just in time, coach. We about to preview these week's games. You down for a couple predictions right quick before we head on out?
Okay,
All
what we
right.
got?
All right. So here we go. This week's NFL schedule includes the following. Of course, the Thursday night game is the 49ers and the Seahawks. Who you got now?
I like the Seahawks, man, because they playing in tune with each other. Gino, yeah, he iffy, but I like how they playing together though. I like how the Seahawks playing, man. They playing together.
I
The
understand.
49ers, they broke up right now. They defense is strong, but right now their offense is broke up right now.
I would say if Bryce Purdy plays Thursday, 49ers win. If Johnson ends up being the quarterback, the fourth string quarterback, then definitely Seahawks win. Who you got, Hugh?
I'm gonna go with the points. I'm gonna just say by now, which I still feel like Coach V. That game can go either way, but I'm gonna take the
Yeah.
points with San Francisco with 3.
All righty then. Going to the Saturday matchups. We got Saturday football this week, y'all. I know y'all liking that. The first game on Saturday, we got the Colts and the Vikings. I definitely got the Vikings in that one.
Vikings.
Right. We can
They
move on.
coming back from that upset from the Lions.
Yeah.
They,
Okay, the middle game that on Saturday, we got the Ravens and the Browns.
That's a stinker, man. But if
yeah. Is Deshaun Jackson playing?
Deshaun Jackson is playing. The quarterback Jackson, that is still week to week at this point. More than
No,
likely,
I'm talking about Deshaun Watson. I mean, Deshaun
Deshaun
Watson.
Watson is back for Cleveland. Yes, he will be playing.
Mm.
And it is in Cleveland. That being said, would not be surprised if the Browns pull this off.
And I had the Browns pick last week.
Mm-hmm.
They was playing somebody, and y'all was talking about them. Yeah. And I put on there. I said, the Browns gonna beat them. It was somebody.
The Cincinnati they played last week.
And it was Cincinnati. Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
And
I don't know. For some reason, since Deshaun Watson is back, I think they're gonna be connecting with each other. They just gotta get that chemistry. I think they're gonna come out of that in that playoff zone. I really do. I really do.
Like I said, I would not be surprised if the Browns won this game, but I'm gonna go with the Ravens. They got Cleveland by 3. I'm gonna still go with the Ravens.
I'm going with the Browns.
Of course, we gotta look at the Chiefs play the Texans.
Chiefs. Come on now.
Do we even need to explain that any further? I don't think.
No.
Okay, the Bengals this week are playing the Buccaneers.
I got the Bengals, and I got them by more points. I'm gonna go 7.5.
It is in Tampa Bay.
I'm to redeem themselves for what happened last week. Tampa Bay.
I gotta disagree with you, Coach. I think I'm about to go with the Bengals too.
I'm going with Tampa Bay.
That defense in Tampa Bay, that's what's doing them right now. It's not.
Yeah, they've been pretty banged up.
It's that defense.
Yeah. I said that too. When y'all was talking about the Buccaneers, they are banged up bad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like for some reason the chemistry with the Buccaneers is not there.
Yeah. Another stinker game we got: Falcons and the Saints.
Saints. Who that?
Too, yeah. Because regardless of the fact, I believe that defense do enough in that game to rattle your boy Desmond Ritter.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that Mariota out, and I think they're actually thinking about releasing him altogether. So Falcons pretty much tanking for the rest of the year. I'll go with the Saints because I don't think Falcons care no more.
Yeah, yeah,
We got the Steelers and the Panthers. That actually should be a decent game, I think.
yeah. I think yeah. But I think the Steelers gonna come on top of that.
Yeah,
They got
I
their back
believe
against the wall.
if
Bottom
Pickett
line,
play,
it depends on who's quarterback that week.
yep,
If Trubisky's still at quarterback for the Steelers, they definitely not win. If they get Pickett back, then I think they could beat.
yeah.
I think they could beat them absolutely.
I must have missed a lot of y'all show tonight, man.
That you did, sir. That you did. It's
Yeah,
all right.
I'm on
You can always
another
go back
Thursday.
and watch the remix. You know how it is.
Okay.
Okay, we got the Cardinals and the Broncos. Stinker.
Yeah. Kyle Murray out. He is did they say anything about his injury? Is he done for the season?
Kyle Murray is out for the season. And
ACL tear.
still don't know if Russell gonna be playing in this game either. So this game might really be named.
Hey, let me ask you this. And I've been hearing a lot of people talk bad about Russell Wilson. I feel like he in a bad system right now.
Absolutely.
I feel he in a bad system, man. And the people that's around him is not really playing up to par what they supposed to be playing. That's just my opinion.
I mean, bottom line is I think that coach gonna be the first coach fired on Black Monday.
Yeah. I agree.
It all starts with him, man. I don't think he's been even coaching that well. And it's messed up because this is his first year, but you got an inexperienced coach to go over there to coach a personality like Russ and a team of that caliber of the Broncos, who everybody looked at it like they could definitely come out of that division.
Right.
And it's just they didn't play expectations.
And to take off what you said, I see the Broncos as a playoff team, and I've been listening to like Richard Sherman and Marshawn Lynch. Some of the interviews they've been talking about Russell Wood. They've been really dogging him. You know what I'm saying?
They still don't like him from them Seattle days, though, man. Because
I'm
they
definitely not surprised.
Yeah, but that wasn't his fault. That was Pete Carroll's fault.
In terms of play, this is true.
But they had big personalities, and by Marshawn and my man's Richard Sherman having those big personalities, and I definitely believe Marshawn had the problem with Russell Wilson and kind of made the comments about him, and some of the things like the backlash of the locker room happened. A lot of players was taking their sides, the veterans, and they wasn't really taking Russell Wilson's side. And I think that was Pete Carroll's guy. And I believe that's where some of that bad taste still is at right now as we speak with those guys with Russ. But Russ need a little bit of that blame, but it ain't all on him, though.
Okay, I want to get these last few wins, y'all. Okay, Patriots and the Raiders.
That go either way.
Yeah, I'm gonna go even on that. But if I had to choose, I'd go with the Raiders because they got the more talented quarterback.
Well, they got it even in the sports books, but I'm actually going with the Raiders because I figure if anybody should know how to beat a Belichick team, it's the man who didn't work with him for as long as he had.
But you all, we all know any coach that coached with Belichick, they come up short.
More times than not, that definitely is the case.
Exactly.
But keep in mind, the main other reason is the fact that the game's not in Foxborough, where the weather ain't supposed to be good at all this week.
Exactly. I agree with that.
It's in Las Vegas, so I think that's to the advantage of the Raiders.
And I think that Carr and Devontae Adams will have a good game that day.
I agree.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the Titans and the Chargers.
That's gonna be a ball day.
Titans. Chargers up right now.
after that embarrassing loss they had, I definitely think the Titans gonna come out on top due to the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah, I agree. I agree.
they beat too bad last week. And if you told me that the Jags was gonna whoop on them like that, I'd have been like, ain't no way. And I think this is a redemption game for them.
Yeah, I think so too.
Not only do I think the Chargers gonna win this one, even though they have by far the worst home field advantage of any team in the history of the National Football League. It's an embarrassment that when they play at home, it seems like it don't matter who they play, there's more people from that team than their team. That is just ridiculous.
I agree to a certain extent, but I think it's going to be a defensive stand because Chargers they hurting on the defensive side.
Yeah,
and where the Titans is not.
Right, because as we know, the other Bosa, he is out for the season, and that
Right.
definitely hurts them. And Khalil Mack ain't quite stepped up the way we thought he would. So
Right.
yeah, I definitely get that.
But again, Khalil Mack is in the wrong system. He's in the wrong system.
Okay. That is your professional opinion, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We'll have to discuss that another time. We got the Giants and your favorite team, Coach B, the Commanders.
Hey, hold on. Let me say this.
Here we go, y'all.
Hold on. You know I'm finna go there. You didn't like Hickey, whatever his name is.
You
didn't like
his name, Heineke. As much
Heineke,
as I defended him,
you didn't like him.
And I still don't.
And what is he doing? He's stepping his game up. He proving that he's a starter in the NFL.
Y'all said he would do that. You also said he would be an all-pro. That dude ain't about to be no all-pro. They'd be lucky if they make the playoffs. If they lose this game to the Giants, they will not make the playoffs.
Oh, Washington, I got the Commanders.
Of course you do.
Yes, I do.
That being said, I got them too, because the Giants are a fraud.
Clean sweep.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we got to talk about what's going to be the game of the week as far as we concerned, the Jets and the Lions.
The Jets who?
The Jets and the Lions.
Man, come on, man. I'm going with Detroit all day. And I'm gonna tell you something. They can make the playoffs. Can they finish? I don't know.
All right, so
they can make the playoffs.
Here's the thing. I say them winning Sunday.
Yep.
More or less 50-50, but I still got them winning. We got the Panthers the following week. I think we could beat the Panthers. That just leaves us the Bears and the Packers. We win them 2 games. I think we are going to the playoffs.
We are going to the playoffs this year.
And I will do something as I told you I was going to do. I'm making an announcement. If the Lions make it to at least 8 wins this year, for the first time in my adult life, I will go out and actually buy Lions gear and wear Lions gear. I said until they did right by me, I would not support them financially. I am now ready to get on the bandwagon fully if they
they 2 games away.
Yep.
They 2 games away.
So if they make it to the 8 wins, keep in mind.
You got to give it to Campbell, man. He is actually putting a system that no other coach has. These players are playing for him.
Yeah.
They are playing.
That defense been playing much better too to help them out.
Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
If the Lions make the playoffs, Coach Campbell is your coach of the year in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree.
And that being said, that leaves the Monday night game, Rams-Packers. Does anybody care?
Not really.
I'm kind of curious to see what Baker do.
But
I don't care that
much. I'm gonna say this: the system that Baker Mayfield been in with the Cleveland and Carolina, it didn't fit him. The Rams fit him perfectly.
Sean McVay is definitely a good quarterbacks coach.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he
I
is.
think we've learned that this year because now basically he's had 4 different people play quarterback for him, and he seems to have stylized the offense to fit all of them. And it kind of worked for most of them.
Yeah.
Again, with Perkins, not so much, but everybody else did relatively okay so far.
Baker Mayfield has been playing. He's been opening up the offense. He's been moving the ball like he's supposed to be. Like
That
when he was at, like he was at Oklahoma.
that being said, let's assume the Rams do win that game Monday. Is it time to sit Aaron Rodgers down for the rest of the season?
Yeah,
I
I would give
definitely
my
would.
man. Yeah, which I'm sorry. What you say?
I definitely would, because ain't no need to keep him out there.
Yeah,
I would because, to be honest, I don't think he's gonna be back next year. Not with the Packers.
I agree.
You need to see what you got with Jordan Love.
And I
Yep.
think Jordan, and in that last game, Jordan Love did play. He did phenomenal. He moved the ball. He did everything that he was supposed to do. Give or take, some of the things that was messed up, but he did what he's supposed to do, and he showed he could be a starter in the NFL.
I think if he does become their quarterback, they will definitely start to be more of a running team.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that being said, it's time to wrap it up, y'all. Another good show. Shout out to Coach B for joining us and
I
chiming
thank
in a
y'all
little
for
bit.
having me, man. I missed the
Definitely.
part because I wanted to talk about that Colorado thing too.
Well, we actually didn't get to that ourselves this week, but we will definitely throw that audible in for next week. Go ahead, Hugh. What you had to say?
One thing too that's crazy if y'all wasn't aware of it right now, man. I want to put y'all on game. Deion already making his impact, man. He snagged the guy from Notre Dame just recently, and
Yeah,
he's on the team right now. What's his name? Dylan Edwards. He decommitted from Notre Dame, and now he's at Colorado. So
And
yeah, that's
understand
one
that was
key.
one of the top 100 recruits in the country, so that is
yeah,
definitely a big get for Colorado.
yeah.
Between the transfer portal and the NIL, things gonna get real interesting.
Very interesting. And you got a lot of cats from that's in that portal right now. That's really eyeing Michigan right now.
Oh yeah, Michigan is
Ooh,
definitely
yeah.
being a big player in the portal. That has been discussed on the local stations. But that being said, y'all, we got to head up out of here. Again, thank you, Coach B, for coming through.
Man, I
You
appreciate
always
y'all for having
doing
me
what
for a
y'all
minute.
do. There will
Bro,
be one more episode of Game Time Audible next week before we shut it down for the holidays. So please tune in for that. And remember, y'all, also, we do have my final episode of Get Off This Lawn coming next Tuesday. The final episode that we
Hey,
are
Blue,
the last mo. Where we
hey,
got it.
Blue, baby.
Go blue all day. You know it, man. What I do with
I
that,
can't
right?
wait for that game, TCU and Michigan. That's gonna be I'm kind of nervous of that game. That's gonna be whew,
But
that's gonna be a better game. That's
we
gonna
will
be a better
definitely
game
preview
than
that game
Michigan.
for you next week, Coach.
Huh?
I said we definitely will preview that game since we won't be on when that game actually happens. So we're gonna preview some of the bowl games, talk about the couple that have already started by the time we get back next week. And of course, any other sports things that y'all want to talk about. Again, join me next Tuesday for Get Off This Lawn Live, the
Thanks
final
for
mo,
having me,
December 20th, 9:30, where we will do it one more time for the network. Until then, y'all have a great weekend. Remember, y'all, I know it's a hard time of year. We lost a young brother today. Shout out to the fans of Twitch, DJ Twitch, who unfortunately took his life today. Do know it's never as bad as that, y'all. If you need any help, if you need someone to talk to, if you need to be steered in the right direction of help, by all means, please reach out to me, Hugh, anybody in the network, anybody that you could come and talk to, or at least steer you in the direction of somebody to talk to. It is never as bad as that. Trust me. If you knew what went on behind the scenes with some of us, you would think, okay, why y'all ain't considered that? We okay, and I promise you, you will be okay too. You want to add to that, Hugh?
Yeah, man, because that caught me off guard because I heard about the death, but at first I was just seeing DJ Twitch and a lot more stuff like activity on Instagram. And I was like, okay, I looked at those videos, and then when I looked and seen what happened, I said, man, did this dude pass? He was just dancing, having a good time with his wife and his kids. But you never know what a person going through, man. But a lot of times too, man, to keep it quiet and try to, as they try to teach us men to do, to just, take it and put it on your shoulders and keep moving, man. We got to do better than that. We got to communicate and express our feelings, because most times that's what men are taught what not to do. And unfortunately, in these situations, for him to take his own life, man, yeah, that's just really devastating, man, because the effect it had on his wife and his children, and just family and friends, and it's just basically a reality call, man. We just need to be thankful and count our blessings every day, but to take your own life, man, I can't even really speak amongst it. Just prayers for him and his family, because I can't say what happened, but to leave all of them behind, man, is devastating.
Right. So that being said, prayers for all of y'all and for all of us as well. We appreciate your prayers as well. Until next week, this is Gametime Audible for Hugh the Sports Guru. I am your boy E-Buck. We will catch y'all next time. Throw the fingers up, Hugh. You know what to do, baby. We outie, baby. Peace. Gametime Audible is a Nighthawk Network.